Morning, all. It is morning here for another 17 minutes, so it does qualify. There wasn't a news of the day video yesterday. It was Saturday, full day of hockey. There wasn't that much to report on, other than and now there's two incidents to put into the same video. This is a sign that there may be an issue that goes on with hockey in general, which is a conversation we've been having for years now. So the ECHL has suspended Jacob Panetta 30 games for a racist gesture towards Jordan Subban, which his brother PK has discussed on Twitter and tagged Jacob Panetta in that as well. There hasn't been anything that I can find that's been said by Panetta at this point. And this is on the heels of an AHL incident of the same nature, where Christoph Hrabik, suspended 30 games for a racist gesture towards Boko Imama. And yeah, the one thing I will say is Hrabik has posted an apology. He has posted a very long apology regarding this and taken full responsibility. I have not found anything said by Panetta. And if you haven't seen the video footage of what happened, I'm not playing it here because it'll get demonetized. It's not great what the crowd's saying during that either. So there's definitely been discussions of hockey and of all of that, and I don't think this puts hockey in a positive light. And here's the thing. This is the kind of stuff that, yes, mainstream media on the American side of the border has picked it up and has been discussing. So whether you are of the mind that there isn't an issue or whatever it is, from a PR standpoint, it is a disaster for the AHL, ECHL, and it hits the NHL as well because these leagues are feeder leagues for the NHL. So this is definitely something that I'm okay with the 30-game suspensions. I've seen some asking for more. I've seen some arguing for less. But it's at least a step in the right direction in that we didn't used to hear about these things at all. So anyways, we'll see how all of that shakes down in coming weeks, months, years, and whatnot. It's likely going to be a talking point for a long time. So there's no way to really casually move from that topic into another, other than for me to say I would never use language like that or gestures like that personally, and so it's not a great look, and we'll see. I mean, the NHL's already put out a statement saying that they condemn any kind of gestures like that and all that, and it's not great. So around the NHL world of hockey right now, Jeff Merrick's reporting that the price for Jacob Chychrun is a young player, a prospect, and a first-round draft pick. That, to me, is a very good deal. I think that if you're a team that's in a contending position, and if you're not worried about that first-round pick, and if you've got a good wealth of prospects, or even if you don't, Chychrun's young. And so apparently there's one team that's already made an offer that matches this. Merrick reporting that it's 2 former first-rounders and a first-round pick. Didn't identify the team. But the nice thing with Chychrun is he's a fantastic defenseman, and he has a $4.6 million cap hit until 2024-2025. He should be a very attractive target. If there's any team that I'm cheering for, like if Boston went out and got Chychrun, I'd be fine with that. Even though Boston has been trading first-round picks, and eventually it does come back to bite you. I think if they traded a first rounder for Chychrun along with a couple other pieces, I'd be okay with that. So so let's just think from a Boston perspective: DeBrusk, Senyshyn, and a first. Sure, yeah, sure. That's not going to get it done. There's no chance that gets it done. So Evan Rodriguez, watching the Pittsburgh Winnipeg game here, his scoring has disappeared since Malkin came back. So this is the kind of thing that it happens, right? So Rodriguez's role changes with the return of Malkin. That does change up the lineup a little bit. I also think it's interesting, too, that now people are starting to look at Pittsburgh's record and say, well, yeah, but look who they've played. The problem with that is you could do that with every single team in the league because the teams we consider to be elite, the really good teams, are like 4 or 5 teams in the league. So then you can discuss all of the other teams in the league and go, well, yeah, they only played those other 20 teams. So who cares if they beat those other 20 teams? It's about the top 5, which is only 15 games out of an 82-game schedule, or 16, maybe 17 games out of an 82-game schedule. It's interesting to me how people look at the strength of schedule over a 20-game period, and then, well, Pittsburgh's not that, well, today, not necessarily their best day. There's still a period left to be done. But, yeah, so Rodriguez, now that I've mentioned this in a video, watch him go out and get a couple goals in the third period. Washington Capitals apparently in on Evander Kane. So the Oilers, there was all this talk about the Oilers were ready to sign him. The Oilers were not the only team that was in on Kane. Well, they're still waiting for whatever investigation the NHL has going on right now to finish up. Evander Kane, there's the possibility he ends up being a Washington Capital, which would be an interesting fit. The Capitals, of course, won a cup in 2018. You could argue that with Ovechkin and with the respect that he commands, that that could help to get Kane to do things the way that the Washington does things, and maybe it works really well. I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina's in on some level. They definitely got D'Angelo back to his best game, if not the best he's ever looked. Some of that's playing with Slavin. That definitely helps. Slavin being one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. But yeah, Kane, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes and which team's willing to take that chance on him, right? For the Caps, they've had some struggles over the last month, so it makes sense that they might be in on him. Of course, the Oilers, they've been in the doldrums since that first 20 games of the season, so these teams, it kind of makes some sense for them to be in on him. Vegas, Pacioretty will travel with the team on their upcoming road trip. White Cloud is also going to be with the team on the upcoming road trip, which tells you there's a chance that either or maybe both will end up playing for the Vegas Golden Knights during this upcoming road trip. So it'll be interesting to see when Pacioretty comes back, how things go, and how Vegas plays. Because for Vegas, it's been really touch and go with them over the last, again, I'll say about a month. And so, yeah, once they start getting healthier, we'll see if the record gets better. It should. It doesn't always work that way with teams, but it should work that way for Vegas. Of course, sad news that came out yesterday, that Clark Gillies, legend of the New York Islanders, passed away. And Clark Gillies was a power forward before the term was coined. He could go out there and fight. He could score. And he was credited for being a large part of what got the New York Islanders over the top and made them a champion in the early 80s. Whereas in the late 70s, they had a lot of setbacks and struggles. But Gillies was given a lot of credit for what he was able to do for that team. And they had a nice ceremony before the game last night against Toronto. And so, yeah, to his friends and family, my condolences. Clark Gillies, I'll do a career video on Gillies probably about a month down the road here, so keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, for Clark Gillies, really, again, the New York Islanders of the early 80s were a fantastic team pretty much from top to bottom, and Gillies was a big part of that. There really wasn't a weakness on that team. You don't win 4 Stanley Cups in a row if you have a glaring weakness. The Philadelphia Flyers, Wade Allison came back. It feels like he just came back. It does. He now has an MCL sprain. He's out until the All-Star break. So for Wade Allison, who has been a good energy player when he's been able to play, it's another setback, and it's too bad. But for Philadelphia, they're in an 11-game winless streak. Yeah, it's been rough. So yeah, there's that. Sam Bennett is a game-time decision tonight against the Seattle Kraken. He has a lower body injury that kept him out of the game against Vancouver as well. So we'll see whether or not he plays. Florida, of course, looking to really probably stomp down on Seattle. Could be an interesting one tonight. And yeah, so we'll see if Bennett's in there. Minnesota, good news for them on the goaltending front. Cam Talbot was the backup last night to Kakkonen in that game against Chicago, so he's ready to come back. Just didn't make his return last night. Not 100%, but when you see the goalie out there as the backup, it means he's about 95%. He's close. And so if something happened with Kakkonen, he could have gone in there, but probably better that he didn't have to. So yeah, Talbot. The fact that he was named to the All-Star game told you that he wasn't going to be out that long, because when they name the All-Star teams, they do check with injured players to see if there's a chance they won't be able to play in the All-Star game. Jared Tinordi's been put on waivers by the New York Rangers. Tinordi's bounced around a lot, but Tinordi he's got the toughness there. The upside, obviously, it never really reached what people had hoped when he was drafted. However, Tinordi can be a useful number 6/number 7 defenseman at times for a team. And so we'll see whether or not he clears. The New York Rangers just shaking things up a bit. and Tinordi, I guess, doesn't factor into their plans, or they figure they can get him through waivers and it's not going to be a big deal, right? Like Edmonton did with Kyle Turris. Turris cleared waivers yesterday. For Vancouver fans, buckle up. So we've got Halak in protocols. You've got Demko in protocols. Add Spencer Martin. Spencer Martin's been put into protocol. Well, they're still waiting for the results of the second test to see for sure. DiPietro's getting the start tonight against the Blues. So here we go. It's Michael DiPietro's in net for Vancouver. I look forward to Silovs being in net for the Canucks over the next week or so. And it'll be fun to go to an Abbotsford game and see John Garrett as their starter at some point. Like when the Canucks were playing against Florida, John Shorthouse asked Garrett, he said, "So are you the emergency backup goaltender?" Garrett laughed. Laughing's not an answer. So I took that as yep, he's the emergency backup goalie. The Canucks, it's going to be an interesting one tonight. DiPietro, having watched him play, he can be good. But it hasn't felt like Abbotsford's had a lot of faith in him this year at times as well. That's why Silovs has had games. That's why Martin's had games. They've been rotating through 3 goalies, so we'll see how DiPietro does. Some goaltenders don't actually excel in the AHL, and then they're good in the NHL. And for some, it's the other way around. So we'll see how things go for DiPietro. And tonight's a big game for Bruce Boudreau. This is his 1,000th NHL game coached. So congratulations to Bruce on reaching that, and maybe the Canucks can get him a win tonight. I mean, it's not likely against St. Louis, who are absolutely rolling, but you know what? Vancouver held in that game against Florida that they had no business being in, with so many Abbotsford level players being in there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.